Okay, we are on 59A. Um, Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel, about 5 lines from the top. Um, okay, so we've been discussing the Mishnah, which has to do with um, establishing a chazaka through a gutter or a downspout. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Sinor hamakaleach mayim l'chatzer chavera. Let's say you have a pipe that drains water into your neighbor's yard. Ubam lusosma. Now the owner of the roof comes to seal it. Bal hachatzer ma'akev olav. The guy who has been getting the water can prevent him from doing so, because he's been benefiting from the water. He uses it for irrigation or washing, what have you. And he says you can't. The owner of the roof can't come and seal the source of the water for the neighbor. Because you can say, you have acquired a chazaka right in my yard with your downspout, right? Lemishre b'maya, that to pour water out of your roof and into my yard. So in exchange, I also have rights. I've got the rights. You have established property rights over my property. I'm reciprocal. I have reciprocal rights to keep the structure in place. Okay, that's an interesting, perhaps a little novel, but you can see the logic behind it. Itmar, we have a statement about that. Raboshaya Amar, Ma'akev, he can prevent him from sealing the pipe. Rav Chama Amar, and a Ma'akev. Rav Chama says no. There's no reciprocal chazaka rights here. Azal Shaili Rabbi Bisa, so they will go and ask Rabbi Bisa. Amalu, said to them, Ma'akev, he can prevent the roof owner from sealing the downspout. Currently, Rami Bar Chama, read this into a pasuk. A 3-strand cord will not be easily cut. Zer Rabbi Oshaya, Benosh Rabbi Chama, Benosh Rabbi Bisa. That's Rabbi Oshaya, who, by the way, happened to be the grandson of the son of Rav Chama and the grandson of Rabbi Bisa. So um, since the Schut HaMishulash, there's like 3 generations espousing the same theory, the same halachic conclusion. That's a solid basis for a ruling. Sorry, I just read that. Now, next part of the Mishnah, Sulam HaMisrei en LaChazaka. You can't make a chazak with an Egyptian ladder. So I said that the Gemara would define, and here we go. What is this Egyptian ladder? It doesn't have 4 rungs. Okay, so 3 rungs or less, that's like a step, what we would call a step ladder. That's not a significant enough thing to make a chazaka. In other words, if the owner doesn't protest, it's because it's a minor thing. And, even though he still believes that it's his property, he doesn't care that somebody put a step ladder on it. Now, what about this Egyptian window? Sulam. So the Mishnah itself explained what an Egyptian window is, but it didn't explain what an Egyptian ladder is. So why not? Like, why does the Mishnah explain one and not the other? Because of what Rabbi Huda is going to come along and say. He's gonna, they were discussing. Rabbi Yehuda said, it depends if there's a frame around it, if you can see, put your head through it. So since we're discussing at greater length the details of this Chalon HaMitzri, so then the Mishnah defines it. Amar Rabbi Zera, Lamato mi'arba amos, going back to the window. So we said that an Egyptian window, which is very small, doesn't establish a chazaka, but a window from Tsar, a Tyrian window, does have a chazaka. And Rabbi Zera says, "Lamata mi'aramos, yesh chazaka." If If the window is less than 4 amos from the ground, then that does affect a chazaka. So if it's so he's restricting it, but lamala so during the first 3 years, the neighbor should protest, right? Lamala mi amos, but if it's above 4 amos, ein chazaka. There's no chazaka of any yachol limchos. Now remember, we're talking here about um, the neighbor. Like if I have a house and a wall in my house, I put a window in it, and it looks into my neighbor's property. So it's my neighbor who can protest, right? I'm infringing on his property rights because it's well established, although we're going to see this is under dispute, but the principle is that that I have privacy rights to my property, right? You can't come along and do something that enables you to see what I'm doing in my property. So putting this window would infringe on my property rights. Rabbi La says, "Afilu mal mi'arba amos, even above 4 amos in chazaka v'yachol imchas." There's no chazaka, and the neighbor can protest. So what's the so I've kind of hinted at what the dispute is about, but the Gemara will explore. Maybe we're talking about whether the court or the halacha can force people to not behave badly. Okay, so in other words, like maybe strictly by the letter of the law, this is permitted, but there's something called midas sedom. Now, midas sedom is if I if you can get some kind of benefit from my property that doesn't cost me anything, right? There's no depreciation, there's no unavailability for use, there's no damage being caused at all. You get some benefit from it, and I do not, and I don't lose anything. So, technically speaking, I can prevent you from using my thing. It's my property, right? But that's called midas sedom. Like, why would I do that? I'm just being cruel, right? There's no cost to me whatsoever. You're getting some benefit because, hey, I should let you enjoy the benefit you're getting from it. So, by the letter of the law, um, it seems like you can enforce your property rights, but that's called midas sedom, and so maybe that's what the argument here is. Can the halacha or can the court prevent you from exercising this property right because it's just cruel? Marsavar Kofin, Marsavar Lane Kofin. Like, if
On which side is this Midat Sedon? Is it the owner of the property
the owner of the property who's putting
who's
in the
being
window,
infringed by the other person who's putting up the window, or is it the person who's creating the window? He's guilty of Midat Sedom.
I think in this case it's like my house. It's got a wall, and I put a window in my house, and it's looking onto your property, so it's infringing on your property rights. The owner of the home, of the building, the window, am the one who's behaving with midas sedom, right? So can you prevent me from? So maybe this is a case of, um, uh,
But why is the owner of the home not being not being affected? The person who creates the window, he benefits. He can see for miles through that window, whatever it is. But the other person is being affected
good.
because someone is looking into his yard. He doesn't
Okay,
want that.
good, good, good.
So isn't he being affected? So
Good, good. So as we'll see, we are discussing a case where there is no privacy violation at this time. So it's like an empty field. You don't use it. I build a window. There's nothing to see there. So that's why the Gemara is questioning maybe this is a victimless crime. It's like there's no privacy right violation because you're not there, you're not doing anything in it. It's not there, it's just an open space, etc. Like what if it's open from all the other sides, right? Anybody can see into the property. So my adding a window doesn't help, doesn't make anything worse, right?
okay, all right.
Okay, but the Gemara says low. No, that doesn't make sense. To Kuliyama Kofin, really, we could say everybody holds that we do prevent people from acting in this midas sedom way. V'shani hachad yamar lei, the mosva sharshifa tosach, v'kaimos l'kachazis. The neighbor can see, like, okay, so you have. Oh, wait a minute. One second. Um, no, we're talking about the above. Okay, the above are arba amos, the above 4 amos, right? So if it's four, so take back what I said before. The reason that this is not a privacy violation is that I can't see out my window. Like my window, why would I put in the window to let in light, right? But if it's 4 amos high, then I can't use it to spy on you, right? I can't see through the window to look at you. And the Gemara answers, nah, the problem is what if I put a bench under it and stand on the bench and look at you, right? So the very fact that I put in the window that enables me to take the trouble to, if I wish, to look into your yard, that's still a privacy violation. But kaimas with kachazis, you could stand on it and look at it. So what they're arguing about is whether whether we're concerned about that. Like it can, yes, everybody agrees I can't put a window that would violate your privacy rights. But what about a window that typically I wouldn't be able to see through? And the answer is, so one view says indeed that's okay, and the other view says no, because I could climb up there if when I feel like it and look through the window, and that would be a privacy violation. How would they also look coming to Ravami? There was somebody
Well, that's
came
not
to.
Midat Sodom the way you defined it, though, right? Because there is a loss to the recipient, the person on the other side of the window. He is being affected. Midat Sodom, the way
Mhm.
you define is that the person is no loss to him. But in this case, if a person stands on the bench, he looks into the yard, the person on the other side of that window, the other owner, he is being violated. So
Yeah, I hear what you're
not
saying.
that would not be
Yeah,
Midat Sodom then, right?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I could possibly answer that if I'm the neighbor and I'm not worried about like you being able to see, even though you have the potential to see, but I'm not really. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't really have a good answer for that.
I'm just saying that's not Midat Sodom then, the way you've defined it.
Yeah, perhaps not. I mean, I could try to answer the question, but it doesn't really satisfy me. Like maybe it's not Midas Sodom if um if yeah, if we don't really consider that a privacy violation, since under ordinary circumstances, no one can see through the window because it's too high. But what about the unordinary circumstances when I climb on a bench to look out the window, right? Um, I mean, maybe we're not thinking that like someone would purposely, climb up to spy, but maybe, once a year I have to change a light bulb up there and I climb on a ladder and now I'm in sight of the window. I don't know. I don't really get it either. It's a good question. I don't really have an answer.
I'm just confused by this concept.
Yeah, I understand. I agree.
Midat Sodom, if it's a privacy violation, that's a privacy violation. Then maybe we shouldn't allow him to have the window. But why does it? What's this
Why
concept
does
of
it
Midat
depend if
Sodom?
it's only a sometime privacy or a potential privacy violation? So it sounds like that a privacy violation is something that provides regular access, to viewing what's going on in your yard. But something that would just be an unusual situation, we don't consider that a privacy violation. But that doesn't really make sense to me either, right? Because like it is a privacy violation. The one time that you're on the ladder looking through my window, I'm doing drug deals or something, right? It's I agree with you. I don't think I'm not really satisfied by this by the Gemara's discussion. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, moving on. How would also come to Ravami? Somebody came with a case to Ravami, um, a window case. Chandre Lakami to Rabbi Abba Bar Mamo. So he sent him to Rabbi Abba Bar Mamo. Amarle, Avile Rabbi Ilah. They said, do like Rabbi Ilah, Rabbi Ilah, who said that no, you're not allowed to build this window. Okay, it's case law. Amar Shmuel Ula Ora, but if the window is just for light, afilu kol shehu yesh lo chazaka. Even if it's a very small window, um, then the yesh lo chazaka, that's something that's intended to be permanent. right? Like we said that, oh, very small window, nobody cares. But if it's a very small window that's for the purpose of lighting up a dark room, then like who's going to close it up? Obviously, you're doing that. You want to keep it that way. You want to keep the light coming into this dark room.
So he's allowed to have that window then.
That window would be a permanent, would be considered permanent for the purposes of chazaka. In other words, the aggrieved party should protest because he sees that it's a permanent thing being done on his property. If he doesn't protest, it means he doesn't really think he owns the property.
Well, it's not a property issue, is it? It's the right to look in on his property.
Right. So I guess the claim here is that that's not. Uh, um, the claim is that you have given up that right.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Haziz, if you have a beam that's sticking out of your house into your neighbor's yard, ad tefach yesh lo chazaka. If it's at least a tefach, then protruding at least a tefach into the property, then that is considered a chazaka. In other words, you don't protest, so then you're conceding the right. So the owner, the neighbor, the guy with the yard, can protest about it and say, "Hey, get your beam out of my yard." Pachos mitefach, but if it's less than a tefach into the yard, no, we don't enforce anything there. It's not a permanent, it's not a significant act that can enforce a chazaka, and also, like, there's no protest that can be lodged. It's like, give me a break. Your property rights aren't really being
Infringed.
infringed, right? Um, okay. So, like, how is it that there's no chazaka and also you can't protest? Like, where does that leave you, right? Um, like, what if later I have a legitimate need to use that part of my property? I want to build something there, right? So the idea is that you can't protest now, right? Because it's an insignificant thing. But there's no chazaka in the sense that later, if I decide I want to build a wall, then I can demand that you remove the beam. Okay, so I'm not conceding the property rights by leaving it there, and I still have the property rights that I can later demand when I feel like it or when I need it. Not when I feel like it, but when I need it, that you have to remove the beam.
Well, why
Okay.
can't he
Oh,
say that? I mean, why couldn't he say that today?
what do you mean?
He
Oh,
could say,
because
I don't want your beam there today, even if it's less than a tefach.
that's the point. That's the point. It's so insignificant that, like, it to me, it's like trying to claim less than a shava pruta. You owe me less than a shava pruta. We don't allow that. It's too insignificant. Right? This too. Now, next year when I decide I want to build a wall over there, now it becomes significant to me because it's blocking what I want to do. That's a significant thing. And you can't come and say, well, you never protested. I never protested because I wasn't allowed to protest, right? It was too insignificant. I had no use for it. Okay.
But now
Okay.
now I need the space. Okay.
Yeah. Amar Rasi, Amar Ravani. Rasi said, Ramila, Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Ravani. Some say it was Rav Yaakov. Hechzik ba'arba. Hechzik b'tefach, hechzik ba'arba. Um, if you establish a chazaka with a tefach, then you've established a chazaka for an amma for four tefachim. What does this mean? My kamar. What are we talking about? Amar Abaye Hachikam is what he means. Hechzik rochav tefach. um, B'meshech arba. If you have a chazaka for a beam that is one tefach wide and four tefachim long, hechzik barochav arba, then you've got a that establishes a chazaka for a width of four tefachim. Um, So, in other words, if you have like a thin beam that extends four tefachim into the other guy's space, that automatically gives you the right to put a thick beam that extends the same length into the other guy's space. Okay. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to imagine a like what's the use of this exactly, but okay.
So then he gets four, not only four lengths, but four widths, basically.
Right. Yeah. So it's like the way I see it, it's like the airspace, right? Like if you're already interfering with the airspace of one tefach wide, um, then you might as well, like you're not taking any more airspace by making it four tefachim wide.
I don't know about that. I mean, he's getting, instead of not only getting the length of four tefach, he can expand it to the width of four tefach. So
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of
he's
depth.
getting
You're
more,
right. You're right.
he's getting more space.
I'm thinking of depth. So you're right. Um, so yeah, you're right. So it is expanding the space. So it's a little strange that we would allow that. Um, but that's his statement. Um, Okay. Now the Mishnah said pachos mitefach ein lo chazaka ve'ein yacholim plus. What if it's a beam that it protrudes less than one tefach? Then there's no significance to it, and there's no macha. But as we said, later you can come by and demand the space back. Amar Huna, lo shanu ela bal hagag v'bal hachatzer. This is talking about the owner of the roof can't do a macha, can't protest against the owner of the yard. But the owner of the yard can protest against the owner of the roof. Okay, so one second.
Owner the roof.
So we're talking about for the owner of the roof, if his beam goes into the neighbor's yard, so the neighbor can use the beam to hang something on, hang his laundry. Um, okay, so in other words, if I stick my beam into your yard, you can use it to hang your laundry. Um, Rabbi Hulamar,
So
Rabbi
what's
Yehuda says
about the other way? The owner of the yard cannot, he can protest? Wait a second. Bala chetzer, bala gag, yachol lemchol.
yeah, so not as we have been explaining. We've been explaining according to Rabbi Yehuda, but Rav Huna says it's the other way around. It's that the the owner of the yard can can protest against a beam sticking into his yard. Okay, it's the restriction is on the owner of the beam. He can't protest if I stick my beam into your yard. I can't say don't hang your laundry on it. And Rabbi Huna,
Who's the owner of the roof now? That's a different concept here.
no, the typical idea would be that the beam is coming off of the roof, but the owner of the one side who's extending a beam into his neighbor's yard, right? He can be prevented from doing that. The neighbor can prevent him from doing that, but if the neighbor allows the beam into the yard, then the neighbor has the right to hang his laundry on it.
Uh-huh.
But Rabbi Yehuda Amar, afilu balachatzer b'balagag eni yacholim chos. No, it's two ways. Neither can protest against the other. Lema behezik kamifli. Maybe we're talking there. Maybe their dispute is about whether there is such a thing as privacy rights. Demar savar shmei hasek, Mar savar lav shmei hasek. Rav Huna says the guy who owns the yard can protest. He says that why can I protest? Um, because this kind of gives you a way to um, uh, like you can climb out onto the beam and look into my yard. And Marsar Lashme has like, and the other one says no. There's no such thing as privacy violation, or it's not considered, damage.
So he could, if the one who holds, in a second, that we know who's holding which opinion?
If you say that the the yard owner can say, I don't want that beam. What's the reason? Maybe the reason is that now that there's a beam there, the owner of the beam can climb out onto the beam and look down into the yard. It's a little hard to visualize like this one tefach, or two, anything over one tefach, like he can step over there and then he can see, like, and before he couldn't see, like standing up on his side of the beam. And it's a little, I can't really visualize how this. Anyway, the Gemara is going to reject this idea, but I can't really visualize how what the situation might be.
So if he holds that Eno Hezek, right?
Mhm.
Lav Shmei Hezek.
Yeah.
That would mean he cannot
Then yeah,
protest. Cannot protest then, right?
right. So the Gemara says no, we can't. Don't go there. The Kuliyom Shmehezek. Everybody says it is damaging. V'shani Hacha, the guy who's the Emerle, the roof guy, can say to the yard guy, "L'tashmishta lo chase." Like this is this is kind of like I was saying. Like, what is your scenario where I can use this beam to look in your yard? Right? It's too small. There's no way I can stand on it to look into your yard. Lamai, what's it good for? Lamisli be'mide. It's only good for hanging things on. Mahadrana apai, utlina be. So if I want to hang something on it, you don't have to worry that I'll be looking into your yard. I'm not going to be looking into your yard. I'm just going to hang something there without looking. Which is a little strange. Like you would think that a privacy violation is potential, right? It's not that like building a window, right? It's not that when I'm passing by the window, I'll avert my eyes. We don't say that. We say that that the guy's got to worry that someone's going to be looking into his yard. So, but here it seems like, what are you worried about? That I'm going to be hanging stuff from the beam? Like uh, that wouldn't be my purpose. Like I'd be busy hanging things on the beam. I wouldn't be looking to you. It's a little unsatisfactory to me also. It's like, so you're saying that you're committing to not use the beam to look into my yard. That doesn't help me with my privacy rights. Um, so I'm not quite sure what the Gemara is getting at here. But the Gemara says v'idach, like why would Rav Huna say that you can protest? Amarle, because it's imnin to isas. That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you'll like maybe you don't intend to look, but maybe you're standing up on this ledge, whatever the scenario is, and like maybe you'll be unsteady, you'll stumble, whatever. You're going to be looking around for how to balance yourself, and you'll be looking into my property. So again, I don't really understand how the Gemara sees this case, but maybe it's just a failure of my imagination. Next Mishnah, lo yiftach adam chalonosav lechatzar shutfin. You can't order or you can't open your windows onto a partnership courtyard. Um, and we're clearly talking about where you're one of the partners. Obviously, I can't build a window to look, just as I can't build a window to look into a private yard. I can't build a window to look into a shared yard, right? But what if I am one of the partners in the yard? So you would think maybe we could say that since I'm a partner in the yard, I could go directly into the yard and have access to it. So why can't I build a window to look into that yard? So Mishnah says, no, you can't do it. Um, now, the reason is, I think, intuitive. Um, if I'm actually in the shared yard, then people know I'm there, right? My partner knows I'm there, so he's not going to do his drug deals while I'm there. Okay, but if I build a window into it, maybe with one-way glass, right? He can be doing his drug deals and not know that I'm observing him. So that's why I can't build a window into a shared yard, even if I'm one of the partners. What if you buy a house in a different chatzer? You can't open the window onto like this is a parallel case with a chatzer, right? You have several chatzerim, adjoining each other. You can't do a window from one chatzer to the other. If you build an attic on top of your house, you can't open the attic into your jointly owned chatzer. Ella imratza, but if you want, bonus es acheder lifnim mi beso. You can build a room inside your house, ubon aliyasa al gabi beso, or build an attic on top of your house. Upon hotel beso. If you need a window, open it into your own property, not into the jointly owned property. So my chaser shutfin afilu chaser chavero namilo. This is what I asked, but what I anticipated in explaining the Mishnah. Like, why is the Mishnah talking about opening a window into a jointly owned courtyard? You can't even, it's the same as privacy violations opening it into an individual's courtyard. So lo mavaya kamar. It's a not only this but also this formulation. Not only can you not open the window into someone else's yard, אבל החצר השותפין, דיאמר סוף סוף hakabais itztauna itztanue minoi b'chatzer. But even in the chaser shutfin, where the other partner could say, like um, where you could say to the other person, look, I could be in the yard observing you, so what's the difference if I observe you from a window? Kamash so the Mishnah tells us, until now, like before the window, if I was doing a drug deal, I would at least know to hide it from you, to draw a curtain around what I was doing. Hashta, but now that there's a window, afilu b'vayis name binetz the even when you're not in the joint yard, but you're in your own home, I still have to do something to protect my privacy, and that wasn't our deal. Okay, Rabbi taught. There was a guy. Shapasa chalonosav lachatzar shutfin. He opened a window. He built a window into a jointly owned courtyard. Bolifnei Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. He came to Rabbi Shmuel. Hello, he said, Hechazakta beni hechazakta. You have, that is indeed a chazaka. In other words, if the partner, the joint owner of the chatzer, doesn't protest, then what you've done is establishes a chazaka. Like if they don't protest the loss of their privacy rights here, then they've conceded those rights, and you can keep the window.
Does that require 3 years, or is that not a 3 years? Is that
I think we're talking about the immediate thing, right? It's the kind of thing that you would be expected to protest immediately.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah. The case came to Rabbi Chia. Amar, he said, Yagata upasachta. Yiga usasam. He says, no, like you have to close it up. Like there was no chazaka established. So if the guy demands that you close up the window, you have to put in the effort to close up the window. Okay, so it's a dispute about whether this is a chazaka or not. Rav Nachman said, "V'listam la'alter have a chazaka." If you if the neighbor builds a wall to close up the window, right, closes it up from the outside, then alter have chazaka. Then that chazaka is for sure immediate, right? Because you're basically blocking somebody's window. I can't think of a more significant act than that you should protest if you care about it. Because nobody would do that, right? No one would allow somebody else to block their window if they cared about the light. So the fact that you didn't protest right away means that you are conceding that you're conceding this property right.
No,
okay.
I'm not. Yeah, you're saying, but I couldn't observe this fast enough here. The Rashbam, he says, b'chalon gimel shanim b'chatzar shutfin. He brings in the concept of 3 years here. I haven't read all of it, but do you know what the Rashbam is talking about here?
Let's see. Yeah, he's talking about um so he's saying the case is I put in a window and the window stays there 3 years. That means I have established the right to the window, right? Now, after 3 years, you come and block up my window, right? That's the kind of thing that I would have to protest right away.
Uh-huh.
Okay, why does he
So the
spend
owner
the
has the owner of this has a window for 3 years. That's in his house. Now the neighbor blocks the window.
Yeah.
But oh, so the owner of this house should protest the
I
neighbor.
guess what he's saying is that once I have established my right to the window, then if you block the window, that's something I would have to protest right away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he had to set it up this way. It could be just like he's trying to kind of continue the previous case, but you could just set this up as an independent thing. I have a window in my house. You can't block it up. Or if you block it up, I have to protest. But he wants to connect it to the previous case, I think is all that's going on
That's
here.
what I thought first when you read this, but then I glanced at the Rushbaum and I couldn't read it fast enough to.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But that's what you think. It's the Rushbaum is
I think
saying,
so, yeah.
I have the window for three
Mhm.
years,
Yeah.
and then you, the other party, blocks the window. No, you can't do that. And he says, no, you can't do that. So then that person has to work to remove the blockage.
Yeah. Okay. The Mishnah said if you buy a house in another chatzer, you can't open a window from from one chatzer to the other. My tama why? Because you yes, by like since there's access anyway from the original opening to the first chutzner, why can't you put in another opening? The answer is because more traffic will come through, right? If there's two entrances to something, it's easier for people to go through it, and there's more commotion, so the neighbors don't like it. Ema Seifa, but the Gemara says, well, wait a minute, what about the end? Elim Ratzah Bonus Achader Lifnim Mi, so you can build a room inside your house, or build an attic on top of your house, so you can enlarge your own house, um, and like rent out the room, let's say, or you've got allow more people to live there. But doesn't that increase traffic? Now more people are living in this chutzner. Amar Rav Huna, my cheder. So Rav Huna says, what does it mean? You can build a new room. Not that you're expanding your house, you're subdividing your house, right? You take one bedroom and turn it into two rooms. And so there could have been, it was big enough for two people to sleep in the one room before. Now you made it into two rooms, there's still room for the same two people. So you haven't expanded the square footage of your house. You've just, done something for whatever reason in the convenience of your house, but you're not exceeding, there's no zoning violation here. Umay aliyah, and what do you mean by you can build an attic? Aftaya means again the same thing. You split it vertically, right? So it used to be there was a bunk bed in the room, and two people could sleep there, and now you split it so that there's one bed in the room below and one bed for the room above, same number of people. Okay, we'll stop here for today, and Ellie will pick up tomorrow from the Mishnah.
All right.
Have a good day. Good job.
Shabbat shalom.